INEC presents certificate of return to Governor Godwin Obaseki of Edo State and his deputy, Philip Schweibu. The governor says the fight is over and invites Osage Izeyamu and Comrade Adams Shomole to join him to develop the state. APC in Oyo State holds reconciliation meeting as party leaders insist on no victor, no vanquished. Hello everyone and welcome to the program. This is Politics Today live on Channels Television. I'm Neota Igbe. With all said and done, an election won and lost, the people of Edo State are now looking forward to governance. But before we move into that conversation, let's give you a feel of what happened today in Benin City, the Edo State capital. The governor, Godwin Obaseki, and his deputy, Philip Schweibu, received their certificates of return. This gives finality to the Edo State governorship election. The National Commissioner, INEC, in charge of Edo, Rivers and Bayelsa, Mrs. May Agbamuchembu, made the presentation at the INEC office in Aduwawa, Benin City, the Edo State capital. Governor Obaseki also extended a hand of fellowship to his predecessor, Mr. Adams Shomole, and the APC contender to work with him in moving the state forward.
I want to put it on record, just like many other commentators have, that the elections of September 19th, 2020 has been adjudged as one of the best conducted elections in terms of it being free and fair. Our colleagues, to our friends and our brothers, on the other side of the divide. We are one family in the pursuit to provide services and public goods for our citizens. Our citizens have decided that for now, they trust us more to provide them leadership. It does not mean that they do not have a role to play. It does not mean that they are not part of a family. So I'm using this opportunity to extend a hand of fellowship to my brother, Pastor Osage Izeyamu, and his other colleagues in the All Progressive Congress to join us and work with us so that we can move Edo forward. On a specific note, I want to use this occasion to call on the former chairman of the APC, Comrade Adams Shomole, that the fight is over. And he should come and join in building the house where he was part of laying a foundation. We have no malice. The only thing we disagree on is on the approach in moving Edo forward.
Meanwhile, the All Progressives Congress has congratulated Mr. Godwin Obaseki for his victory in the polls in Edo State. But in Oyo State, the party says there is no bad blood. The party says it's harmonizing all factions and interests within the fold to strengthen the party for 2023. The Ekiti State Governor, Kayode Fayemi, who held a stakeholders meeting in Ibadan, told journalists that the party is closing ranks to return to the seat of power in the next elections.
It's not an attempt to denigrate any member. All our members are important, but the leaders are here, and they are of one voice. As you heard His Excellency said, there is no victor, there is no vanquished. All is settled. We are now a united front as a party, moving strongly towards retaking Oyo State and working in the interest of progressive politics.
And in Kaduna State, the PDP says it's drawing inspiration from the party's victory in Edo State with the elections of state executive and working committee members for another 4 years. There is a confidence boost, and the party says it's repositioning ahead of the next elections as well.
PDP family in Kaduna State gathered today in the party office. First of all, to thank God Almighty Allah for making our son, Dr. Ahmed Mohamed Makarfi, to finally succeed in reuniting the PDP at the national level, and also for conducting the convention successfully. And also to thank him for what he has done to the party and what he has done to the state. And for him also to thank the entire people of the party, especially in Kaduna State, for all the support they have given to him. And also to call on all the members of the party to get united or to be united.
And now let's get to talking about the main issue of the day, which is the governorship situation in Edo State. Yes, Governor Baski has collected his certificate of return, and we understand he's embarked on a thank you mission from Edo State to Delta State and going on to Bayelsa, and then he'll touch other states. He believes the PDP states that stood behind him through the election period. But that's not our conversation today. Our conversation is the fact that he's put out his hand of fellowship to his opposition to say, let's work together. And to help us look beyond the elections at governance, we have joining us from our Abuja studio, Mr. Ni Akinshiju, who's a member of the All Progressives Congress, and Segun Shomi, a member of the People's Democratic Party. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us.
It's a pleasure. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, so let's start out with Mr. Akinshiju. So the governor has collected a certificate of return that paid to the election situation. Now it's time for governance. And he's come up to say, after the congratulatory message from the All Progressives Congress, hey, let's work together and build the state. What is your position? What do you think?
Well, democracy by its own definition, implies the fact that in a situation like this, there must be a ruling government and, of course, an opposition. It's just the ethos of democracy, as it were. It's what makes a government and governance robust is to have a government in place that sits in the government house and, of course, an opposition that also provide alternative point of view to the government. What also allows or enables the people of a particular constituent to enjoy the dividends of democracy is to have an opposition that is up to date, that has capacity for orientating itself towards the people, and of course that has capacity to be able to marshal different points of views, either in terms of policies, in terms of conduct and character of political activities within that constituency, as it were. So I also welcome the olive branch extended by the governor, as it were. But the truth of the matter is, because of the nature of democracy, it cannot be a family affair. If this had come when the governor was in APC, perhaps, yes, it's a family affair. But by the definition of the presidential government, system of government as we have, it's a natural, there's a natural line, on opposites. The governor is the governor of the state, is the head of government, while the APC, the former candidate, as it were, and of course all other actors in the APC are naturally in the opposition, and they will be monitoring government and governance on behalf of the people. That's the requirement of democracy, as it were.
Mr. Shomi, this matter of it's a family affair, which the governor seems to be wanting to put out there. Let's work together because it's about the people. I mean, your party has always said it's about the people, and the people of Edo State have spoken, and the governor is now saying, let's come together and get this going. But Mr. Akinshiju said he can't, if he wasn't still in the family, then it will work. But What do you think? Is it possible to make this work? Let it be about the people. Let's leave the party situation aside and look at serving the people.
Thank you very much. First of all, I thought you would first of all say congratulations to me and our party for our victory. And I'll say that Governor Godwin Obaseki, upon receiving his certificate of return, demonstrated why the People's Democratic Party is a good party in heart and in principle. Many people will take the opportunity of taking that certificate and only make a haphazard speech towards reconciliation. But because he understands that there is only one Edo people under heaven, and that nature and fate and destiny and the goodwill of Edo people have said he is to lead them now, and therefore he is willing to provide leadership for and also including those who were diametrically opposed to him while he was leading. And you will notice that he may not be speaking without his heart. He did mention specifically two critical actors. He mentioned his brother, Pastor Ize Iyamu, and he mentioned his former chairman of the party, Adams Aliu Oshomole. More cannot be demanded of him. How they play and how they react and how they behave going forward will determine how the environment in Edo will be. In terms of the responsibility they have as opposition members, I am sure that the People's Democratic Party have no intention whatsoever to take them away from that duty. But now that we are going to provide government in Edo and provide leadership, it is our duty to make sure that the whole of the atmosphere that was hitherto very tensed and very heightened as a result of the campaign rhetorics can be brought down and everybody can settle down, because when push comes to shove, the future and the destiny of Edo people is what we're talking about. And they are more interested in those who will push the agenda to serve Edo people, to make an egalitarian and historically strong and people to be able to accept that, okay, that is over, now governance. Like we always say, you campaign in poetry, but definitely we plan to govern in prose.
Campaign in poetry and govern in prose. Mr. Akinshiju, this Edo election has been adjudged one of the best elections by everybody, or almost everybody have mostly said that it's one of the best elections. But there are lessons that can be drawn, especially going forward, to look at elections that are around the corner. Ondo is around the corner. You think there's some things that should be built on to go to the next election? What do you think?
Well, I think we've been building on successes since the return of President Buhari, to government. The truth of the matter is, going forward, what we have recorded in Edo State is actually this commendation, as it were, the outpouring of commendations and all that. It's principally because the PDP won. If the APC had won, you can be sure that there would have been a lot of fireworks by now, whatever the case may be. And I make bold to say that all the elections that the INEC had conducted under President Muhammadu Buhari, none, had been overturned on the basis of issues in the election period or in the election day, as it were. And we can compare that, of course,
if I may come in here, are you implying that you're not satisfied with the conduct of the election?
I am satisfied, but I am saying that the PDP is commending this election, as it were, because it won the election. If the APC had won, no matter how transparent, the election was, of course, we know in the character, of the PDP, how they would have raised so much alarm by now. It's not the first time we've had different elections over the last 5 years, and we have known, all of us had witnessed how the PDP, reacted to such elections, especially where the APC won. So for me, I think it's still hypocritical. We know that we have been conducting good election, transparent, honest election under the presidency of President Muhammadu Buhari, you know, and for every of such, especially where APC had won, the ruling party had won, the PDP had found no reason, you know, to concede transparency and honesty in such election.
Mr. Shomi, Mr. Akishiju talked about the fact that the PDP is rejoicing and commending the election because they won. Is that so? I mean, considering that every other person has said the election's good.
Our issue with elections in Nigeria is not so much the outcome, but the process. If you look at the elections we've had in this country, a certain level of improvement continually happened until we got to 2015, when the PDP in the presidency superintended over the country and an election happened, and you all know what happened there. We were magnanimous, reasonable, and disciplined enough to say we're not even bother challenging it so that the country can just go on. What we saw post-2015 was that every standalone election, that means elections that didn't happen within the circle, became a difficult to stand by or accept election. Why? Is it Osun, where the election was all of but one until some magic came asking them to go and redo some process that personalities that were on ground felt was a little bit toxic? Is it Kogi that has taken the sovereignty because of what people saw? And therefore, when we were going into Edo, what we wanted to see was a process that was very, very transparent on the side of INEC, that was very, very unmeddlesome on the side of the security, who would provide security cover without getting into the fray. And we wanted to see a process where, as the elections are going on in the polling unit, Nigerians are able to see what's going on. Both sides waited on their breath because no one could predict how it was going to eventually play out. That it then went the way every decent Nigerian, including all the civil society, including all the election observer wanted, is the reason why we're particularly pleased. Contrary to the thinking of the APC, they think that our issue with the way election is handled in Nigeria is that, oh, PDP has to win all elections. That's not true. We do not expect that we will win all elections. No. We only expect that in every election, the will and the transparent will of the people must be allowed to stand. And that in doing so, we must not militarize the process to such a point that we begin to see connivance, excessive interference, you know, harassment, and even intimidation of voters.
If the PDP had lost this election, you would have still said it is good the way it went? Would you have congratulated them?
If the PDP had lost this election, it would have been an anathema and a near impossibility, and I'll give you 4 reasons. We must not deceive ourselves that Nigerians are going to be feeling the weight of fuel price increases. Nigerians are going to be feeling the weight of increased tariff in electricity. Nigerians are going to be feeling the weight of poverty in the land. Nigerians are going to be feeling the kind of embarrassing arrangement that produced a demarketing of the APC candidate by the former chairman of their party, who then thought that the people had forgotten all he said about that party.
You're not answering the question.
We knew they couldn't win if only they could be disciplined. So if we had lost, perchance if we had lost, we would have said, oh, what a shame. It appears as if logic no longer applies in Nigeria. So we knew we couldn't lose. And we also believe that the reasons why they were hemmed in from their natural misbehavioral tendencies was because they had a very loud signal from the international community placing personalities on visa ban as a result of activities that had to do with the election. And therefore, we felt that, okay, let's wait and see whether the leopard will change its skin. And today, alas, we are seated here. All Nigerians are the witness of it. Truly and sincerely, a free and fair election has taken place in Edo. PDP has won freely and fairly and squarely, and therefore we are hoping that this is now going to become the norm and not the exception. In a couple of days, we'll be going to Ondo. We do not want an excessive excitement of wanting to do what they cannot get from the people by using the so-called national power,
let's go back to Mr. Akishiju.
Jargons.
Mr. Akishiju, you've heard him. He says if they had lost, they would have been or they would have also been magnanimous to say congratulations as well if the process stayed as clear as it is. But going towards Ondo, do you think it will work out that way?
Of course, there had been transparency, there had been honesty, there had been dignity-inspired, processes in the elections held before now. And that's why I insisted it's because they won. Now, I referenced the fact earlier that no election held under President Muhammadu Buhari, had been overturned by any court, especially the Supreme Court, on the basis of election day happening. None. And that's, of course, if you start to compare it to what usually happened. You know how many elections were overturned on election day happening, between 2007 and 2011? You know how much militarization of election processes and election day, activities that happened between 2013 and 2015. All these are in our history, and we can compare. Now, I am saying that even the Osun election that he referenced is simply about, the provisions of the Electoral Act. If I had known this from day one when the Electoral Act was made public, if the numbers of voided votes was higher than the winning margin, there should be a rerun. It's as simple as that. But of course, our friends in PDP will run outside and will start making all manners of noise and conjectures. I am challenging PDP. If there had been any overturn of election because of election day happenings over the last 5 years, it's as simple as that. So for me, this is another template. It is a higher milestone that we have achieved in the electoral process. Going into Ondo, we are sure, that the process would also be transparent because we have a man who has decided and determined to leave a legacy of transparent, a dignified electoral process as legacy when he leaves as president by God's grace in 2023.
All right, gentlemen, we're winding down now, and so in 30 seconds each, let's look at that innovation where pictures of the results were taken and sent to the INEC server so that everybody had a picture of it before the collation announcement was done instantly. Going into the next election, do you want to see that happening? Let's begin with you, Mr. Shomi, and end with Mr. Akinshiju. 30 seconds, please.
Well, that was what we wanted in the 2019 presidential election that we didn't get. Where we didn't get that in Kogi, we didn't get that in any of the other locations. Thank goodness God, we've gotten that in Edo. We hope we'll get that exactly in Ondo. And there's something I need to say to my brother. There is no role for any of the parties when it comes to election management. We do our campaigns, and that's where it ends. It is not the president that gives us a transparent, free, and fair election. No. What we say to anybody that is in the villa is, do not interfere with the will of the people. And then we'll say, if you can just restrain yourself, everybody will be happy with the process. And thank God international observers will also see so.
All right, Mr. Akinshiju.
And of course, that is what the president is doing now. What made the refrain, federal might popular, was because PDP governments between 1999 and 2015 were always mobilizing parties, mobilizing security forces and all manners of things, into the election arena. So, but what this president is doing is as much as possible to be neutral and objective in engaging the electoral process. Thank God he has acquiesced to this. And we know going forward, this president will leave a legacy of transparent election.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ni Akinshiju, a member of the All Progressives Congress, and Shehu Shomi, a member of the People's Democratic Party. Again, thank you once again, gentlemen, for sharing this evening with us. And that's our show today. I want to thank you for allowing us to be a part of your evening tonight. I'm Neo Taigbe. Same time tomorrow, Shehu Okimbaloe will be back.